What stupid object do you own but don't regret buying? Story 1. I found this really big penny in a gift shop at some tourist attraction for like $1.50. It's about the size of my palm, but it's otherwise pretty realistic. I like to take pictures with the penny for scale. I'm not sure anyone else thinks it's as funny as I do. Edit. Look how small my cat is. Edit 2. You guys wanted more, but I'm at work and only have a few on my phone. Check out this tiny pineapple and this itty bitty shoe. Sorry for poor quality in all of these. My phone is terrible. Edit 3. By popular demand, bananas for scale, penny for scale. Story 2. I purchased someone's employee photo from a car dealership at a secondhand store because his smiling mug and spiky red hairdo makes me laugh. Under his photo is this guy's name and job title all engraved on a nice metal plate. Adam M. Lot technician, now hangs in my house. I love Adam, he's part of the family now. Adding have link to photo. Meet Adam. Story 3. When I was in college, there was this Chinese restaurant that people went to because it was cheap, delicious, and you could buy a volcano of alcohol for 10. One night I was tired of the volcanoes and decided to get another tiki drink. One came out in a skull mug. In my drunken stupor, I'm way too excited about this mug and I ask if I can buy it from them. After a bunch of negotiating they say they'll sell it to me for 5. I triumphantly tell my friends who want to buy one as well. The rest of the night was spent drinking heavily out of said mugs. Needless to say, I had a fuzzy memory the next morning. But I vaguely remembered my purchase. I lay in bed and wondered if that actually happened or was a wonderful, wonderful dream. I roll over and on my nightstand, the mug. I have had it for years, and recently lost it in a move. I love that mug. Edit. It looked just like this. Thanks you Tonebox 627. Sadly, an identical copy doesn't feel the same as the original. Story 4. Bought this crocheted chicken at a garage sale for a couple dollars. It still makes me smile when I see it. Sits on my work computer. Story 5. I found a tiny vintage couch for my cats, 15 at Goodwill. I think it was originally made for children, but it's as well built as a full-sized couch. I use it the same way as the penny guy in this thread, except I like to use it to make people think my cat is the size of a Saint Bernard. Also, every time my husband complains about the size of my Focus, I counter that I can fit an entire couch in the back seat. Edit Siegfried on his couch. Edit 2. Since you all seem to like Siegfried, here are some extra photos of him doing what he does best. Absolutely nothing. Story 6. A 20-pack of gold star stickers that say you tried in Comic Sans in the middle. I keep them on my person at all times for when I really need to passive-aggressively insult someone. Edit. Buy them here. Story 7. Took my ex to meet my family back in January out of state. We hit up the small-town thrift store been around since the 50s cool vintage joint that was around the corner for my folks. They had this sterling silver fish ring she was obsessed with. It was gaudy 75, way too big, but definitely her look. Christmas had just passed, but her birthday was the following month, so I chalked it up as a gift idea. Snagged one of her rings a few days later for measurements. She passed away shortly after that trip and before her birthday. Visited the family a few months later, and since the thrift shop was a few blocks away, and a ritual to visit, I walked over, browsed around for a bit and saw that dumb ring staring at me in a new section. Sighed and bought it. The ring isn't my cup of tea and I'll definitely never repackage it for someone else. Spending $85. Yeah, the price went up on a ring I'd never wear or give to someone. Definitely hurt my frugal side. No regrets though. It's safe and stashed away in her box of stuff. Story 8. A tiny chair. It sits next to my normal sized chair and usually holds my water bottle. It was $1 or $2, so I love it. I put a penny on it for you. E2. I found a tiny hippo and not to scale 3D printed banana to join the chair and penny. E3. Tiny giraffe, tiny howling wolf dog, 3D printed tiny cow skull, 3D printed not to scale banana, tiny hippo, and a penny all on the tiny chair. Story 9. I bought my guinea pigs super elaborate hideaway houses. Like one is a beach cabana and the other is a garden house. They just look so stinking cute resting in them. Story 10. A really fancy tiara. I wear it when I'm super drunk and want to feel like a pretty princess. I bought it to go with a Halloween costume about 20 years ago. It's stainless steel with a lot of Swarovski crystals, so not a cheapo plastic child's dress-up toy. Story 11. I regret ordering the special edition of Duke Nukem Forever. I regret owning the game and the box it came in. I regret owning the poorly written comic book and inexplicably tiny pack of Duke playing cards. I do not regret the Duke Nukem bust that I have proudly displayed on my shelf. Story 12. A salt lamp. It claims to have healing properties or something total BS if you ask me, but I just think it looks awesome. Plus, I'm stupid clumsy and always run into something if I get up in the middle of the night, so it's the best night light ever. Story 13. Well, I just bought a fire engine. Wife is like, WTF, says normal men going through a midlife crisis get a young girlfriend or a sports car, that I want a fire engine. That's not mine, but mine looks just like it have a titanium spork. I don't do the kind of long-distance hiking where a few grams of weight matters, but in college, a friend of mine had one, and I didn't, and it bothered me ever since. 15 years after graduation, I'm living the dream. Story 14. There was a bar that had like a massive sombrero behind the bar, and I asked if I could have it. They said no, but I managed to convince them if I could have it if I did 20 tequila shots in 2 minutes. Managed it. Threw up 5 minutes later. Can't remember the rest of the night, but I woke up with a giant sombrero and am happy. Story 15. Harry Potter wand. Spoiler, it does absolutely nothing, but every guest does the exact same thing when they pick it up off my shelf. Swish and flick. Warms my heart every time. Story 16, a pachinko machine. It was actually a joint buy with my mother, at an auction for 5. Figured it'd be an interesting conversation starter. It's dumb, broken, and Aztec themed. No regrets though. Edit well, this got a lot more attention than I would have imagined. Phone died on me earlier and then I got distracted. But phone is now charged and I took 2 pictures. It's not a huge machine, so I hope some of you all aren't expecting something grandiose. It's just a pachinko machine found at a rural Pennsylvania auction. Front and back I want to mention, see the little ball on top in the back shot. Found it as I moved the thing, we thought it had no left, but that single one made it somehow. Story 17, according to a few people I know, my 1974 Chevrolet Nova that I bought when I was 16. It was puke green, the interior was, the engine was tired cockeyed and it had no exhaust system, radio, or air conditioner. 7 years later it is red and white. The interior is still, but it has a period correct looking radio head unit. The engine is a little more aggressive, and has an exhaust system that kicks. It is my favorite never-ending drain of money. Story 18, this cat. He's only 4 months old and he's a moron. He's constantly running around at the speed of light, knocking into things. Oh, and he loves getting his claws stuck on things and then hollering until I can unstick him. Oh, and every time he lays down he rediscovers his tail for the first time and starts chasing it. But he's my and I love him. Story 19, this is a beanbag for my cell phone and it lives on my desk. Edit here is the beanbag with my phone resting comfortably on it. Story 20, a 10-pound bag of greasy pawn shop artisanal soap for $5. They came at shapes like Santa Claus and gingerbread men, along with things like birds and gnomes. I blew it all up with a pellet gun. Story 21, I once dropped $150 on a 9 feet 2, 74 meters diameter beach ball. People asked why I would ever need it, and I would tell them that if you can't think of a way to have fun with a massively oversized beach ball, then you take yourself way too seriously. Edit link to website I bought it from for those interested. Story 22, I commissioned someone on Etsy to paint my dog as Don Draper. It's the best $30 I've ever spent. Also, I bought a skirt from ModCloth that has cats all over it. My husband is embarrassed to be in public with me when I wear it. ETA, since people are asking, picture of my dog, picture of his painting. Story 23, bought one of these in Japan. It is silly and stupid, but it is entertaining. Edit, I think I helped sell about 1,000 of these things today. Where's my commission? Story 24, my husband bought 2 little sheep statues. We were going through a rough patch in our marriage and I felt he wasn't being romantic anymore. He desperately asked what the romance is to me. Because I had no idea how to answer, I told him it was buying useless for no other reason than because it might give the other person a laugh. He took it as a challenge. The next day he went out and looked for the most stupid, useless thing he could find. He found 2 ridiculous statues of sheep. I laughed, then cried and fell in love with him again then and there. They now stand in our daughter's nursery. Story 25, Banana Elvis, sorry for the potato quality photos. These were taken with an LG Cosmos bar phone 6 to 7 years ago. When my husband was a younger, more foolish man, he and a close friend got really hammered and decided to go Halloween costume shopping at one of the local fly-by-night shops that crop up during the fall. They discovered the Banana Elvis. I don't know why they call it Banana Elvis. Since there's very little banana related about it, I suppose the headpiece is sort of banana-shaped. But that is his name. He lives in our garage and comes out when he is needed. Story 26, bright orange sport coat. Love that thing while the fiancé hates it. I wear it very rarely and mostly in the fall or spring, but it's glorious. Bright orange with paisley lining. A genuine Polaroid camera, the old one. Story 27, one night, I got really drunk. It was after a breakup and I was feeling super depressed and wanted to make the pain go away. So in my drunken state, I was browsing Facebook and saw an ad for an app, Lucky Cactus. Just tap the cactus for luck. It had all these great reviews and pictures of people who enjoyed it. 10. I thought about it briefly and bought a digital cactus app for 10. Hey race, where it gets weird though, sometimes when you tap the cactus little icons pop out. I've wished for help with relationship issues, a good job, you name it, and every time I wish for something the corresponding icon pops out. Not once have I ever wished for love and had the money icon pop out, or wished for a good job prospect and had the heart come out, and so on. My drunk Facebook status for that night was Jesus is a digital cactus. I have not deleted the app since. I take it very seriously now. Thou shalt not lightheartedly tap the cactus. Story 28, 4 tiny fuzzy bears to go with a dollhouse-sized table, chairs, and cake I made in shop class. They have no functional purpose, but they are so cute. Story 29, when I was a young kid, when we'd go to the doctor's office, my mom would tell us the names of all the stuff in the room. You know, this is a Q-tip, this is a syringe, this is a tongue depressor, etc. Then they'd get the blood pressure cuff and my mom would say, this is a sphygmomanometer, and if you can say sphygmomanometer, it'll get you one. Of course I couldn't say it and everyone had a good giggle. Well, I got older, and my mom stopped asking me to pronounce sphygmomanometer, probably because I actually could and she didn't want to buy one, but she still did the name all the stuff thing. I figured she made the word up to have a laugh. I grew up, went to college. One week I got really sick and went to the student wellness center to be seen by a doctor. So I'm sitting there in the room reading some tacky posters about HPV and not driving drunk when I notice that their fancy blood pressure machine has a word stamped into the metal front. It reads SBHYGMOMANOMETR. When the nurse comes in I ask her to pronounce that word. Says it just the way my mom did. It's a real word. I called my mom and told her the story. She bought me a sphygmomanometer. I don't even know how to use it properly, but I'll keep it forever, no regrets. Story 30. A 750 computer monitor, grossly overpriced for a tiny benefit. It hasn't made me a better gamer. I'm still, but goddamn is it pretty and makes me smile when I play. I'd do the same all over again. Story 31. I have a kitty coin bank where when you put a coin on the dish, which is a button, a kitty peeps out of a box, meows, and steals your coin. It amuses me so much. Story 32. A plastic Tyrannosaurus Rex, not even posable, standing in a position with its mouth open. I spent $7 for it at the Dino store when I was 8 years old, 24 years ago, and it's lasted since then. Occasionally, I sneak it into holiday decorations. Right now it's on top of our living room bookshelf, alongside my girlfriend's lightsaber. Story 33. Head massager. It's a metal spider-looking contraption that sends tingles down your spine when you push down on your head. Looks ridiculous but feels amazing. Story 34. When I was like 16 I bought 2,000 stickers that said for rectal use only. It was the sticker that was put on certain prescription bottles and stuff. I would keep 20 in my wallet at all times and would just put them on everything. They were like 4, so I don't regret it. Story 35. Selfie stick. I'm a machinist, and I work on big parts with deep bores that need inspection for weld defects occasionally. It's so much easier to put my phone on a stick and reach down inside a part and snap a few pictures than it is to crawl across the part while reaching in and trying to hold my phone steady enough to get a clear picture. Story 36. My Fallout 4 Pip-Boy, which you can use with the game and your phone, as the game's lead developer said, or close to. It's a stupid gimmick, but it's the coolest stupid gimmick I've ever seen. Story 37. My Harry Potter mug. I own lots of mugs. I didn't need it but still bought it. All my other mugs have been ignored since then. Story 38. I have a vintage brass Navy diving helmet that I bought off of an ex-girlfriend. It was one of the things her dad kept from his bachelor days, and they held onto it after he died. They were downsizing though, and she knew that I liked it, so she contacted me after we broke up and offered to sell it to me. When I see it I don't think of her, but it reminds me of that period of my life. I do think of her father every once in a while. I never met him, so I always wonder what kind of guy he was. Story 39. Big leather hippo. Probably cost more than any single item I own outside of my car. I won 4K at a casino in London and bought the hippo from a store in Knightsbridge. Story 40. I have a Texas-shaped cutting board sitting in my living room I bought from Goodwill. It's so obnoxiously Texan, but it's too nice to be used for cooking, so I use it as an XL coaster, and now there's a big ring around where Austin is supposed to be. Story 41. I bought a massive pink and green floral teapot from the op shop. Then I paid a nice old lady at the market $5 to knit me a tea cozy. I love my teapot. Story 42. I bought my now husband a Louis Tomlinson doll from One Direction for his birthday as a joke a few years ago. He has a secret love of them and found Louis to be really funny after watching some videos. We just moved into our house and were unpacking things and he opens a box and starts laughing hysterically. He was actually crying, he was laughing so much. He found the doll. Well worth the purchase right there. Story 43. I bought an old anamorphic lens for my camera. It's pretty crappy and difficult to use, but I can take photos like this so. Story 44. I have a 7-foot-tall suit of armor I bought on a whim when I was 19, tied him to the top of our Jeep and drove him home where he has cut the hands of anyone who has tried to touch him. It's been over 7 years and Octavius is still the best. He gets dressed up for holidays and loves to scare the out-of-workers who come in the house. Story 45. A pair of 7 bright pink stripper heels that glow under UV light. I'm not a stripper. I probably never will be a stripper. I have never worn them out of the house, but they sure are great for reaching tall shelves and are feeling tall and majestic. Story 46. 2 Hot Wheels replicas of the Homer, the car that Homer Simpson designed. One has plastic wheels, one has rubber. I saw them at a car show and I had to buy them. I was 30 at the time. Story 47. My otaku keyboard pisses N00B guests off when they try to look up their recent favorite YouTube video, or especially when they have to log into something. I honestly don't remember that I have one most of the time, because it has forced me to touch type naturally so I don't look at it much. When I get complaints about it though, it satisfies me on some sort of narcissistic level. Aesthetically, you have to admit they're beautiful too. Story 48. I bought a treadmill for my own personal use. Nobody sensible does this and everyone refers to the one they have as a coat rack, but I've been using it almost daily for months now. It's so much nicer than nervously trying to get some exercise in my medium to bad neighborhood in the evening, and I can even use it if I've had a drink with dinner, which would rule out the obviously cheaper route of driving to a gym. Home treadmills don't seem to work for anyone else on the planet, but I love mine. It's the perfect solution to a lot of problems I had scheduling regular exercise. Story 49. When I was in college I was doing community service for my fraternity. They were selling a SWAT bulletproof vest for 50 cents. It even included steel ballistic plates. Best 50 cents I have ever spent. Story 50. I used to work at McDonald's and when I started we had the teeny beanies. A little boy walks up the counter to buy ice cream or some BS and he puts his toy on the counter. I looked at when I took the order and 16 years old me thought that was one bad sheep. I ordered a Happy Meal for myself on break and made sure I got the sheep. I named it Chuck, name of my grandfather's sheep whose was torn open by their dog Sputnik. Little poor Chuck. I used my sewing kit to sew dental floss through its back so I could put it in my car's rearview mirror. I am now out of college, married, and in my second desk job, doing programming and analytics. and Chuck has been in my car for 8 years and is older than my current car. I looked online to see how much he costs and eBay sells him for 80, so I'm not the only one who thought he was bad. Story 51. I made a drunk purchase and bought a custom-made hoodie with the LSU college colors. Instead of the gold LSU on the chest, it's LSD. I won't wear it in public, but it's the comfiest thing I own. Story 52. My toothless piggy bank. I don't care that I'm 33 years old. If I want to shove my change in toothless adorably smiling head, I will do so there. Story 53. A gorilla suit. Sure, it was expensive, and I get really hot and sweaty wearing it, and it sheds and leaves hair everywhere, but it's a gorilla suit. Story 54. An oil drum with about 400 pounds of industrial-grade Vaseline. My friends and I got this off Craigslist for $5 last year. The guy mostly just wanted it gone. We built a legendary slip and slide, and occasionally sneak into friends' houses and lay Vaseline in the most unexpected and inconvenient places. Not a hint of regret. Story 55. My favorite mug. I bought it at the thrift store and it is personalized with picture of a man on it I have never met and says the son-in-law. Imagining the story behind it always makes me laugh. I adore it. Picture edit. Sorry for the potato quality phone pic. Story 56. These two busts that I bought ages ago in a dollar store during Halloween. I keep them displayed with my figures all year, making me the coolest aunt according to my nephew. Story 57. The only souvenir I bought in Poland is a life-sized meter-long hyper-realistic King Atlantic salmon body pillow, over half my size, which took up all the room in my suitcase. Her name is Giselle, and she's fantastic for slapping people with. Story 58. Fossils. I was at a geology show and bought a megalodon tooth and troglodyte fossil. They do absolutely nothing and half the time I forget I even have them, but when I see them on my dresser 10-year-old me remembers I own part of a giant prehistoric shark. Story 59. I bought a sitar, shipped straight from New Delhi. In a time when I could barely afford living expenses. It sounds like can't hold a tune, but it looks cool slumped in the corner of my basement living room. Story 60. This falling ball clock. It is noisy as and keeps rotten time, but I had always wanted one since I was a kid. I picked it up at an auction and treasure it. Story 61. I've got one of those VW bus tents that's the same size as a real VW bus. It's a pain to set up, it get dirty easy, everyone and their mother stops by your campsite to look at it, and it's not nearly as spacious as a regular 6-man, also poor ventilation, oh so poor. Finally folded up, it weighs like 65 pounds, it was 500, and it kicks. We have a regular 6-man Coleman that we use more often because we have to be mindful when we use it, but it's fun. This is the tent. Story 62. My cat, Weirdo, is pretty much all I live for some days. I bought a small glittery crow with a top hat from Walgreens since it was on sale for less than $1. With hat is now one of my favorite things, have a Viking-style helmet, horns and all, that is incredibly uncomfortable to wear but looks hilarious when I do. I also have a 6-foot Maasai spear that I bought while in Tanzania. I have been known to wear the helmet and brandish the spear while singing Kill the Wabbit. Story 63. A PT Cruiser. Yes, I actually bought one. I didn't inherit it from a dead relative, surprisingly. I bought it new and have maintained it, and it's never given much trouble. I had to replace a wheel bearing on it, and the radiator failed last winter, but that's it. About to roll over to 100K and have only done brakes, oil changes, tires, and the 2 repairs I listed above. Story 64. Flamethrower weed eater. It sounds like a jet engine and the weeds don't come back for like 5 months. Plus, it melts ice pretty decently. Also, it is a flamethrower. Story 65. I have a little copper toothpick case, with a single titanium toothpick inside, completely stupid and pointless. It doesn't do anything a wooden toothpick can't do, but I love it, and carry it around in my work backpack at all times. Also, I collect pocket knives. Realistically, one single knife would be fine for any purpose, but I love picking which one I want to take with me when I leave home in the mornings. Story 66. A replica of 1 pound of body fat. Totally stupid. My GF gives me about it all the time, but I can look at that and then think about all the terrible decisions I could make about food. Is that pizza really worth another 12 of those on my body? Nah, left Reddit due to the recent changes and moved to Lemmy and the Fediverse. So long, and thanks for all the fish. Story 67. I have a collection of rubber eggs, one out of the gift shop of every English heritage site visited from 2006 to 2009. They are solid rubber and heavy, and because they're egg-shaped they go all over the place when you bounce them. I think my parents must have discreetly hidden them because of this, and because I tried to bounce one inside the car. Story 68. A massive set of speakers bought off the back of a van for $250 hard cash. They output enough sound to satisfy a party of about 1,000 odd people, and I use them just in the house. They are also over a meter tall and don't really comfortably fit anywhere, but they work really well and it feels great to crack on some loud metal etc. when I've got the house to myself. At the time, I'd been summoned over by some dodgy American bloke who offered them to me for $500 and I'd seen another guy in halls with the same set of speakers and knew his set worked amazingly, so I thought it and took the hit after negotiating him down to half the price. This was about 10 years ago now and they still work a charm and have presided over many a party and pre-drinks over the years. To think I could have easily given $250 and they could have been completely useless and I'd have had nowhere to turn. Story 69. My dog, he is a Husky Lab mix, was driving down the road and a guy was selling puppies out of a plastic kiddie pool, 50, $0 later I have a new best friend. Story 70A, 50 AE caliber Desert Eagle on satin chrome. Rounds cost too much to really shoot casually. I don't hunt, you can't hide it, and in my state it's illegal to conceal due to said caliber. If I tried to use it for self-defense at home it would blind and deafen me from muzzle flash and blast sound. Let alone guessing which neighbor's house would stop the bullet. But I love the thing anyway, and it's more fun to shoot at the range the once or twice a year I go, per shot, than entire clips from any other handgun I've ever shot. It always makes me smile like the adult kid I am. Story 71. About 6 years ago I bought a guy's soul in a jar off eBay. It's a handmade clay jar with a clasp. It was $24.99, great to scare superstitious friends. Story 72. 4 diameter, 2-inch thick neodymium magnet. When I was 14 or so, I can put the magnet against my chest, stand with my back to a refrigerator, and open it by stepping forward. Story 73. Definitely a tennis ball the size of a basketball. It must have been some odd promotional item. I bought it at a garage sale. We are not the kind of family that buys holiday presents for pets, but I wrapped it up at Christmas for the family dog, a rescue who loved tennis. He enjoyed being able to tear the wrapping paper off, then flipped out trying to figure out how to get his mouth around the thing. He died about a year ago, but I'm pretty sure the ball is still in the garage somewhere. Story 74. A British S10 gas mask. Got it with 2x new sealed filters for $35 back in 2005. People ask why, but let me tell you, it has its occasional uses, from cleaning up dog or some smelly mass, to the one time I had to stop a grease fire, threw the mask on with oven mitts, dumped baking soda and sealed it before putting the pot in the snow outside. Friend got minor smoke inhalation during the ordeal, but I was fine even though I was the one in the kitchen taking care of it. Story 75. Battery-powered semi-auto Nerf gun. I was at the store about a year ago, saw the shelf of Nerf, and remembered how I couldn't get these as a kid, but then like a bolt of lightning, I realized that I'm an adult with disposable income. It's great fun. My cat loves chasing the darts all around, and she brings them back to me. Story 76. A book called Why Cats Paint, which is a real book about the psychology of cats painting. It talks about the origins in Egypt and about patterns and scratching habits and everything. I saw it at a therapist's office and asked if I could have it, and they said yes, and now I have it. It's ridiculous. Story 77. I bought this weird helmet Y head massager for like $100 on Groupon. Everyone mocked me. It looks ridiculous, but it feels awesome, and now they all want to use it whenever they come over. Story 78. A monocle. Found it at a thrift shop. Meant to donate it to a local theater. But it is just too cool. It was under $200, but it makes me happy to see it when I open the drawer it is in. Story 79. Okay, I bought this with my mom. When I was about 12 I was on a little league team called the Roadrunners. I really just wanted it. It is supposed to be taller, but the tail was broken when we got it. My dad filed it smooth and most people would never know. One of my favorite moments was recently when I found it packed in a box from a move and immediately said, "Oh, I've been looking for that." My wife's face was priceless. Yes, I have a glass Roadrunner. Story 80. A foam board prop check for several $1 million. It was used for the opening ceremony for a school building. 12 years later, I was helping the school's PR department clean out their storage closet. They were going to throw it away, but allowed me to bring it home instead. There are tape marks around the signature field. I believe, but I'm not 100% sure, that the signature was affixed in a temporary fashion, because if it was actually on the fake check, then it would cease to be fake and legally become a real check. Story 81. Admittedly not me, but my best friend. In his apartment, the first thing you see when you walk in is a bare wall with nothing hanging on it except for a painting of an old couple, presumably grandparents. The picture is not of his grandparents or anyone he knows. Some guy gave it to him, and he hangs it loud and proud on his wall. He thinks it's hilarious, and it honestly is. Story 82. The oven. Hear me out here, but honestly the thing is a path to ruins. I have spent many hours serving up a feast for my wife and our 4 kids, who will have you know happen to eat the house down more often than not, and this thing always burps out on me. Within around 20 minutes of cooking, I will begin to realize that it is spitting, and I will turn off the heat and just stare at the ceiling and scream, "Why, oh why is the piece of apparatus contaminating my living facility?" Story 83. A Wi-Fi reader. Everything it does. The average smartphone can do much better, but it's a neat way to kill time during long flights, and I kind of dig its aesthetics. I've been meaning to mess around with its code, but never really got to do it. Story 84. A Bug Assault 2.0 fly killing salt gun. I've gotten plenty of use out of it, though oddly enough, it's rarely ever used for actual bug killing. Story 85. A giant stuffed Simba toy. He usually stays in the corner of my room, but I'll never regret buying him because his snuggles have helped me through some tough times. Story 86. I have a magnetic keychain holder. It's got magnets on both hands, and they're surprisingly strong. I got it off one of those Chinese sites that are dirt cheap but takes over a month to ship. Story 87. I have a disposable lighter that has a picture of a T-Rex riding a moped in front of the moon. I don't smoke, I have never smoked, and I will never smoke. I just literally bought it because I thought it looked hilarious. Story 88. I saw this steampunk Palin comic in a tube-in at a comic store once. Bought it immediately. I have no question it provided me with more than 2 of entertainment with its delightful insanity. By the way, in the course of the comic, Palin teams up with Robama, who's basically Obama as Cyborg from DC. Despite what you'd expect, he's not the villain. I forgot who the villain actually was. Maybe I should dig it out sometime. Story 89 Duck Call. Got it to disrupt a friend's rehearsal dinner years ago and still carry it around. The random looks of confusion when I break it out are priceless. Story 9700 4K with HDR TV. I know it's a waste of money but I don't regret it. Watched Batman 1, the movie of my youth, and Michael Keaton's chest hair looked like cables on the Golden Gate Bridge. Story 91 I didn't buy it, but when I was a kid, I convinced my mom to buy me a black, polished, solid granite gazing ball, a little bigger than a softball or large grapefruit. Totally useless. Still have it, no regrets. Story 92 Amazon Echo. I've had it for nearly 2 years now. It's stupid because at this point in my life I have almost no use for it other than to check the weather. I don't have kids so don't need it for the math help or search capability or like 90 of the skills. I can't afford to buy the smart home products the Echo can connect to. I can't even really afford to buy audiobooks to listen to, and I don't listen to music at home that much. So for me personally it is a stupid object taking up counter space. But I don't regret it because I still hope that someday I can afford to buy all the smart home stuff. Story 93 I bought a love sack from a friend of mine thinking it would become the dumbest thing I own, but it's become the seat everyone fights over when they visit. Story 94 The replica portal gun from Portal 2 3/7-inch Vault Boy bobbleheads. Vault 101 version the platinum chip from Fallout NV the Fallout mini nuke bundle. Although I already had all the games with all the DLC, probably the dumbest buy out of all the Fallout lunchbox, and a Vault 111 flask the Pip-Boy for Fallout 4, and to come later this year, the Pip-Boy Deluxe Edition. But most of all my dancing baby Groot pop vinyl. I have him on my dashboard of my car, and he's like my little driving buddy. Story 95 I bought one of those silly Guy Fawkes masks so I could participate in Project Canology. They were just catching on at the time, and it wasn't the universal symbol of neckbeardism that it is today. We got a lot of people out of the cult and we had fun doing it. Everybody laughs at those masks nowadays, but to me they will always represent an attempt to help people who had no one else on their side.